welcome to Indie Business Radio for Monday, September 8th, 2008. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and you have arrived at the one place where we empower you to enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way. A special welcome to all of my listeners today, and especially to members of the Indie Beauty Network. The holidays are coming up. If you want to give the gift of Indie this year, then visit indiebeauty.com and click on the link for our member directory. You can find Indie Beauty products made right in your home state. Think about it. Over 700 manufacturers of quality beauty products at your fingertips at indiebeauty.com. Click on the member directory. Buy locally from your local indies, of course. Well, these days, can we hear enough about passion? I'm not talking about the kind that produces butterflies in your stomach on your first date. I'm talking about the kind that lights a fire under you and causes you to do things you wouldn't otherwise do. I experienced this myself when I discovered a burning passion for handmade beauty products. I quit my job shortly thereafter, and 15 years later, I'm the president of the Indie Beauty Network and hosting this radio show. A special welcome to everyone. Joining us today is an expert on the topic of passion. Her name is Dr. Letitia Wright. She is a doctor of chiropractic and the host of the Right Place TV show, a Los Angeles-based regional cable television show focusing on information, strategies, and new technology tips that empower women to grow their businesses. Dr. Wright is the co-author of The Power of Mentorship for Creating Wealth, The Power of Mentorship for the Woman Entrepreneur, and The Power of Mentorship for Passion. She also tells me that she's the producer of the new film, The Power of Mentorship movie. We'll take your questions and comments. Do join us, 800-773-0355, or you can email me at info@indiebusinessradio.com. Welcome to the show, Dr. Wright.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, you are like a passion expert, so I have to go back a few years, though, and give us a little bit of information, Dr. Wright, on how you discovered your passion and how you moved it and rolled it into what you're doing right now.
Well, I've always been interested in being a doctor. Ever since I was 3 years old, when people would ask me what I wanted to be, I've said I wanted to be a doctor. And when I was 13, I was exposed to chiropractic as a means of getting people healthy. And I fell in love with that because I watched people go into Dr. Thie's practice, Dr. Thie from Pasadena. They'd be bent over and hurting, and then they'd come out and they'd be like, "Bye, Doc, see you next week." They'd be all happy and feeling better, and I just thought, that's what I want to do. And so I grew up and actually became what I said I was going to be. So I was really loving chiropractic, but I got a chance to be a guest on someone's TV show just locally in my area. And it came out really good. I don't know what was happening. I wasn't particularly knowledgeable in that area, but that was that one day when, everything is clicking. Those days. The hair, the suit, the makeup, everything looked really good. I was able to answer all of the questions, be really interesting. And while I was sitting there, I was thinking, wow, a TV show might be good to promote my practice. So I went back to the studio later, and I go, okay, this guy has a show. How do you, get a show? And I talked to them about it, and they explained to me what the requirements were and what we had to do in classes that you had to take. And so I spent my off time doing that and prepping to have my own show. So my very first show was A Healthier You, which was just all about health and sort of promoting my practice. In my mind, I thought, if more people see me on TV, they're going to come into the practice. Meanwhile, I'm doing the show for 2 years. I'm really falling in love with television production. I'm having a ball. I'm just really liking it. And my patients were, they were getting to know me, but they were still coming in from referrals. They weren't directly coming in from the TV show. But everybody knew about the TV show, and they were watching it. So I decided to take a break, take some more classes, and I directed other people's shows for a year, and I kind of figured out what is it I wanted to do, because I'd burned through all my doctor friends. They weren't like me. They didn't really want to be on TV. I had burned through all my friends and called in all my chips and all my favorites for guests on the show, and I'd kind of run out of shows. So I took some time off. I directed other people's shows, and I came up with this idea called The Right Place. And I took a year to test it. Could I get people to watch, and could I get sponsors for the show? And in that first year, we did 25 shows, and I got sponsors, and I got people to watch.
Great.
And that was really what just spurred me on from there, and I just have been having a ball doing the right place. And I, realized this is a passion, and what would I like to do with it? So the hard part was figuring out how do I move from chiropractic physician to talk show host full-time.
Right, and your story is so wonderful because it really points out one of the points in your book about starting something based on your passion and really kind of following it and ending up someplace else. And that's what's so wonderful about that. And you gave examples, one in particular, about how you got started in terms of watching what other people did. And that's one of the main points in your book, The Power of Mentorship for Passion. Tell us a little bit more about that mentorship idea and the concept that we can all use mentors, and not necessarily formal ones, to move toward our passion.
Absolutely. Informal mentorship or formal mentorship, either way, it will give you an idea of what you're doing. If you can look at someone who's accomplished the goals that you've accomplished, if you don't know them and you can't get them to mentor you directly, you can follow their career, you can read bios, you can keep up on what's going on and look at the strategies that they use to move whatever it is they're doing forward. And you know how they say success leaves clues? Well, if you can pick up on the clues and tweak them to work for yourself, then you can recreate that success. Because if someone else has done it, that means you can do it too.
So, Dr. Wright, I'm a person with a passion. I'm listening to you on Indie Business Radio today, and I have found 5 people that I can allow to sort of informally mentor me. They're doing what I want to do. But my goodness, Dr. Wright, they have a Twitter page, a radio show, a website, a TV show like you. I'm like, how in the world do I follow that? What are some tips that you can offer for somebody who's looking at this and going, great tip, but how do I keep from getting overwhelmed?
Well, one of the things you want to do is you do want to narrow it down to the things that you want to have. In other words, if your goal is to have a radio show, then kind of narrow it down to those people. If your goal is to have a television show, narrow it down to those people and look at what they're using. Now, you and I met on Twitter, and I think Twitter is a fabulous, fabulous tool for everybody. I couldn't have met you without it. We're both on the web. We're both all over the place, yet we never crossed paths until we met on Twitter. So Twitter is a great place to begin to build friends and to begin to build some fabulous contacts. But you want to look at what people are doing and kind of narrow it down to that genre. So if it's radio, focus on radio. If it's beauty, focus on beauty and figure out what you want to do. What is it that you want to do with beauty? Do they want to have a website like yours that's all, information, all cool stuff? And I read your blog and I'm like, oh, I want that. And I'm emailing you, where's this person? Who's this? Give me this info. So
some of that Indie Beauty.
Yes, Indie Beauty. Love that site. And what you want to do is, what's the big picture? What's the end product? And then you want to reverse engineer. You want to go backwards from that.
And so one of the chapters in your book, in fact, the first one points out that the most important part of this process at the beginning is to find and cultivate your self-confidence. How do you help people do that?
One of the things about self-confidence, it makes all the difference in the world. And you do have to take a moment, and you do have to assess your strengths. And you have to be clear about what your strengths are. They used to say that you should be a generalist and be good in all areas. I don't really believe that. I believe that you can excel in certain areas, and you can wind up hiring people that help you in the areas that you're not so, you're not so detail-oriented in. So instead of trying to improve weak strengths, hire someone to handle that and improve your naturally gifted talents, because your naturally gifted talents is where your success lies.
And Dr. Wright, until you get to the point where you can hire somebody, does it really just boil down to starting with what you have and doing something besides just thinking about it?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Don't sit on your butt and think about it. Number one, you can get friends to help you. until your business gets off and really running to where you're asking them to put in 8 hours a day, there are usually some friends who are very, very talented that can help you out. When I was first doing the show, I have a friend, Angela Tate, and she is a professional chef. Well, some days I had some really big guests, and I wanted to impress them. So I would have her make the lunch for the show because I knew it was going to be a nice show. And she wouldn't charge me what a caterer would charge me or a craft service would charge me. And so you look at your friends that are around you, and not that you're trying to use people, but you just assess what their gifts are. And you'll be surprised how many friends can chip in a little bit. But when your business is up and running, go ahead and hire someone or bring in an intern, or bring in someone who would like to be mentored by you because they can help you.
And that point that you made about using a friend really, you just gave us such a good example of how you just really flexed your creative muscles. What can I do? It doesn't come natural to think about that, but you thought about it because you just were like, okay, what can I do to make myself stand out?
Absolutely. And what can I do to make myself stand out? Also, too, I give total props to my friend. I make sure her business cards are in there, so we promote her to these guests and people at the studio in case they want to use her services. And we just really work together. If you can think in terms of the big picture, you can make it happen. You can't be looking on the little details and totally fretting and waiting for perfection because it just doesn't happen.
Right. I certainly know about that. And so you have got 5 steps that you say are necessary to create what you define as wealth in your particular life and in your particular business. I want to take our listeners through those 5 steps. What's the first one, Dr. Wright?
Well, the first one really is finding your passion, okay? You've got to know what turns you on. Don't do things because someone else tells you that's cool. Don't do it because someone else who's really good at it got you all excited and that's what you want to do. See, I could look at your Indie Beauty website and I could get all excited because it's well done, it's informative, it's fun, it's got cool stuff on there, and go, man, I'm going to do that. But that's really not my bent. I'm not really that knowledgeable in it, and I could get excited about it because I love what you do, but is that really my passion? No. The fashion things for me come really easy now. I can get shoe sponsors. I can get show sponsors for clothes. I can get show sponsors for makeup. So, I have a whole different angle. So the first thing is really just be honest and say what your passion is.
And Dr. Wright, do you find that most people have one of 2 problems? They either have trouble figuring out what the passion is, or they have so darn many of them that they can't narrow it down and figure out what to do first?
I think both of those. I mean, I have so many people that write me. They go to the website, rightplacetv.com, and they send me an email, and that is the number one thing. You nailed it on the head. They don't know what their passions are. And when you don't know what your passions are, that's really an exciting time in life because you get to try out all these things. Right. So if you have no idea what your passion is because you've spent your life taking care of children and a husband or whatever it is you were doing, you were holed up in a job that you really kind of hate, whatever the situation is, take the time to try some things out. And the best way to try them out, don't go out and start a whole business. No, don't go, I think I like that. I'm going to start a business. Try it out and ask someone who's doing that, can I be your apprentice or your mentee? Work with them, don't charge them, and get to see the inside scoop. See, I have no idea what really goes into you creating indiebeauty.com. I have no idea. So there may be some things I might find out if I work with you that's like, oh, wow, I don't want to do that. That's just not my forte. That's just not what I want to do. So this is a great way to try it out, work with people, figure out the aspects of it. And you can tell the difference between I don't want to work with that person versus this industry is not what I want to do. I explain to people in medical school, chiropractic school, dental school, the most dangerous year is your second year. And the reason why is because that's the year that it gets tough. That's the year that you have to try and remember why you were doing this.
Mm-hmm. And you're also kind of committed to it by then, too.
Right. You're so far in the tunnel that you can't see the entrance, but you can't see the exit either. So that's the year a lot of people figure out, I don't want to be a chiropractor. I want to be a dentist. Or I don't want to be this. I want to be that.
Right.
So second year has the big, big dropout rate. Well, you can avoid that in your business and in your life by trying on all these cool things and then saying, okay, thank you for the 4-month mentorship process. I've looked at it, worked with you, decided this is not what I want to do, and you just let it.
I'm moving on. You can call us with your questions or comments, 800-773-0355. I'm talking to Dr. Letitia Wright, the author of The Power of Mentorship for Passion and the host of the Right Place TV show. This is Indie Business Radio. We'll be right back.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding Internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted Internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the Internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and I'm here this afternoon talking with Dr. Letitia Wright, the host of the Right Place TV show and the author of The Woman Entrepreneur and Power of Mentorship for Passion. Before we took our first break, Dr. Wright, we were talking about the 5 steps to basically creating a life that you really can enjoy as an entrepreneur, and the first one is finding your passion. So I have a question about this. Let's say you've narrowed down your passion, and you really have a passion for this thing, and you are on fire, and you are ready to go, but you can't quite see how you're going to make money at it. What do you do?
Okay, first of all, almost any passion, there's an availability to make money at that. I have a mentor who says there is a market for everything. What is important that you do is that you find that market. You have what we call market to message match. So you're not selling snow to Eskimos. You're selling ice to thirsty people in Florida. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that your pool that you're selling to, or what we call you're fishing in a pond of hungry fish, that you are bringing what people want. That's one of the keys to making money. The other key is there are a few times when what you're doing will not make you money, such as if you're serving the underserved or the homeless. Obviously, there's no money that can't pay you. Yes, you can get grants, and you can do a lot of nonprofit work, but sometimes that can, take a while to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, that's when you would consider being a nonprofit and, making that your personal passion where you're serving people who really cannot pay you back. However, most entrepreneurs can make money at what they're doing. There is a market for it. They just haven't found it, and they want to give that excuse. Well, I'm going to start a nonprofit, and it's an excuse. What you need to do is learn some great marketing skills, and that comes back to the next step of having some specialized knowledge. You need to have some specialized knowledge, some marketing skills, and learn how to set up your business so that it is profitable to you. But there's a market for almost everything.
Well, let's talk about that specialized knowledge, because that's number 2 in your list of 5 things you need to do to be successful at your passion, and that is to create or to take advantage of specialized knowledge and create it for yourself. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, creating specialized knowledge for yourself in a particular industry or what you want to do is going to involve you doing some research. In other words, you've got to get some books, you've got to get some information from people about the business itself, and then you have to learn how to market. You have to learn how to make it work. How are you going to bring people into this business or this passion of yours? How are you going to get the word out? A lot of people want to say, oh, I'm not advertising. I'm doing everything by word of mouth. Well, word of mouth actually costs money to really do word of mouth well. And that's one of the fallacies that people get. They read all this stuff about free PR and you don't have to pay for it. Well, that's another show for another day, but you do have to invest some money in it. You do have to set yourself up so that you have money to invest in your business. So getting the specialized knowledge is really understanding what it takes, not just the craft of it, but how to run the business part of it.
So, Dr. Wright, it's interesting that you say that, because there is so much information in the universe now about how you can make money fast by basically doing nothing. And
I agree. I agree with you. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. How are you finding that you counter that with your audience?
Well, with my audience, with the Right Place TV show, we're on TV and we're online, so anybody anywhere can go and they can watch the show, click on any episode and watch. We try to bring different pieces of knowledge and different experts so that someone watching can use this strategy in their own business. There are a lot of voices out there. What you have to do is you do have to find people that resonate with you. Mm-hmm. You do have to find people whose style is a little bit close to yours if they're going to mentor you.
And then once you do that, what you're saying is that there's really no shortcut to the creation of that specialized knowledge. There may be different ways to get the word out, but there's no shortcut to the nitty-gritty, rubber meets the road, how to make your passion a part of, what's in your brain.
I agree with you. There is no shortcut. You do have to do the work. There is no instant anything. We both are online a lot, and we see all that stuff all the time, and it's just not true. I got to tell you, it's just not true. So give up that dream of finding something where you're going to instantly launch it and have $1 million launch. All of those guys online that make $1 million in a day, number one, they've been doing it since 2000. Number two, they've got millions upon millions of buyers with which to make their, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million launch. And so you not only don't have the tools, you don't have the experience, you don't have the record to duplicate that immediately. So you might as well not buy that. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Be unique. Have your own thing. Because your own thing will carry you through. This is the thing about passion, and I know you know this because you've experienced it. When it's your passion, when you get to the rough spots, what happens? What do you do?
When you hit a rough spot?
Mm-hmm. When you yourself personally, when you hit a rough spot in your passion, you're moving forward, and you hit a rough spot in Indie Beauty or the radio show, what do you do?
I say, Lord, I hit a rough spot. Help me over this rough spot, and I forget about the rough spot.
That's right. You just keep on going, don't you?
Yeah, you have to. And, you're such a good example of what you just said, too, Dr. Wright, because you are a chiropractic doctor by trade. I mean, you went to school, and then you practiced for a while before you even started doing what you discovered as your passion. So you didn't just throw up a TV show, show up at the studio, and start recording. You had to do some research and create that specialized knowledge in this area for yourself, right?
I did. I took classes, and I spent a whole year volunteering on other people's show. Everything that's done in a television studio, I've done it for someone else. I've done lighting. I've done set design. I've done the makeup. I've done direction. I've done, camera. Every single job that happens in my studio for me, I've done sound. I've done CG, which is the little words at the bottom of the screen. I've done all that for someone else.
And this is good because you're not just saying, here's what I've seen other people do, go do it. You've done this yourself. And that's
exactly,
right.
Exactly. I was just in a forum where a guy was telling some other guy to call up studios and ask them who the producers are, and then ask them if you can be on the show. And I wrote back to the guy, I said, that is a really bad technique. Number one, the receptionists or news people don't have time to list for you the producers because they're busy. Number two, do you want to call up there and sound like an amateur? This is ridiculous.
Right,
That's not how, it's not how it's done. And the guy wrote back, oh, regardless of what Dr. Wright says, you should try it anyway. And I just wrote back to the guy, I said, look, you can go to Payless and ask the $5 an hour clerk about your bunions, or you can go to the doctor and get some expert advice. What do you want to do?
That's a good analogy. Good analogy. So it's the school of hard knocks to some extent, and you just got to get out there and start running.
You do. You have to get some action, but it doesn't have to be totally school of hard knocks because there is someone who's ahead of you who's been there, done that. And if you can glean some of the knowledge from them, you can avoid a lot of rocks. I mean, you'll have things that you can avoid and you have to experience. I had to experience a day of no guests showing up to the studio. Mm-hmm. That's how I figured out what you're supposed to do if no guests show up to the studio.
Right, you got to start talking, don't you, Dr. Wright?
Exactly. So I learned, okay, now this is what we do. So some hard times are good because they actually create a better product for you. However, if there's someone who has done it before you, try to glean as much from them so you don't hit those same rocks because there's definitely some information there. But when it's your passion, you will go through the hard times. You will keep it pushing. You'll keep it moving because it's what you love to do. And the hard times are just a temporary thing to you because you're doing what you love. If you're doing what you think is going to make a lot of money because somebody told you it was,
right,
and they told you what they thought, they heard somebody else say they thought that they think somebody else is doing,
right,
you're just not going to have the mental or physical energy to push it through.
Right, and you're going to burn out in that second year, as you say. So we've got finding your passion, accumulating that specialized knowledge, and then number 3 in your 5 steps to creating the kind of successful entrepreneurship that you want is discipline. Tell us about the big D.
The big D on discipline is not, I don't mean, flog yourself with, cat o' nine tails. I mean, discipline.
I'm glad about that, too.
Discipline means to be able to tell yourself to do something and do it. In other words, you tell yourself, today I will finish my blog report or my blog. I'll finish putting up my blog. And then you do it. You tell yourself, today I'm going to do this, that, or the other, and you do it. That's discipline. Not, I'm going to do this and, I didn't get it done. Now, are there times when you do not finish the task? Of course. But the majority of your tasks should be completed because, number one, you should know how long they take to do it. You should know how much equipment you need to do it or what you need to do it. And you should be able to get it done. So you don't overextend yourself making this 100-point list that can't possibly be done, But you make yourself efficient and you make yourself get it done. This is also a back end to confidence building.
And Dr. Wright, when you talk about discipline, too, you also in your book talk about how it's not just actions, but it's the mindset that those actions are based on, right?
It is. I mean, you have to be really sharp in your mind, and you also have to be willing to stand your ground and not be moved by every single thing that comes by. When you decide who you're taking advice from, you really can only take a couple of different styles of advice. For example, I was listening to one guy, and he said, well, what you should do is, in your business, look at all the possible things that could go wrong and prepare for them. Okay, that's some good advice, and maybe there are people that need that. But for me and the way my mind flows, I tried that for 2 days, and I swear it was the worst 2 days of this whole summer. I mean, everything was going wrong because I was focused on, well, what could go wrong and what will be my backup plan instead of focusing on, this is how it's going to go, this is how smooth it's going to be, this is how cool it's going to be, and knowing I have confidence within me that whatever comes up, I can handle it.
Right.
Even if I don't have a plan, I have a general backup plan, but even if I don't have a specific plan, I know I can handle it. And then the other thing is that I've been doing the Right Place TV show for 8 years. We've got 250 shows on TV. I've I've seen every problem that has come up. It just has a different name and a different face. But it's the same problem. You know, people talking in the studio. Okay, so this week it's this guy, and next week it's, next month it's another guy. I mean, it's the same problem. So after a while, you realize you've seen every problem that can come up, and you've dealt with it.
And do you find that in your business as well as with people you're working with, just to comfort people who may feel like they're a little bit overwhelmed, do you find that that patterns develop that make it easier for you to do your job?
Absolutely. We have a total routine at the studio that we go by. This and this and this happens, this and this and this happens. It happens in the same way, the same time, all the time, with very small variations to accommodate the different people and what's going on that day. So that helps. I mean, having a routine and having a checklist is a beautiful thing. I've been doing the show for 8 years. I still have a checklist for leaving the house the day of the show.
Right. And you can rely on that. And so for people who are in different industries or their passion is different, it's not in, broadcasting or whatever, those types of routines and patterns can be put in place whether they're providing a service or manufacturing a product, right?
Exactly. They're called systems. And I have a mentor that says, when businesses are failing, it's not the people, it's the system.
The system. That's such a good point. And so I love that you said that, because that point, your point number 3, where discipline is concerned, is transferable across all types of business segments. So let's move on to number 4. You talk about becoming a good decision maker. What is a good decision maker? How do you qualify yourself as one? And I want you to answer that question after we come back from our break, because my trusty engineer has just told me it's time for me to take a commercial break. This is Indie Business Radio. I'm talking to my guest today, Dr. Letitia Wright, the host of the Right Place TV show and the author of The Power of Mentorship for Passion. It is all about mentoring your passion from the shelf and into reality. And we will be right back. Don't touch that mouse.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning a new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm here with Dr. Letitia Wright, and we are going through a fantastic 5-step program to successfully create the wealth that you want in your entrepreneurial life. And we've talked about discovering what your passion is and defining wealth on your own terms. Number 2, getting that specialized knowledge in place. Number 3, Dr. Wright says you have got to be disciplined about this whole thing. And number 4, she says you have got to become a good decision maker. Tell us about that one.
Well, decision making is hard for a lot of people. A lot of people have never learned that skill because it requires that you think, it requires that you consider yourself, consider what's going on around you, and it can be kind of tough if that's not what you're used to doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you make a decision, there's 2 things. You have to decide, is this going to move me closer to my goal? In other words, wow, Donna asked me to be on Indie Business, being on her radio show. Is that going to bring me closer to my goal? The answer is yes. So it's a no-brainer, yes. I'll be on the show. Love to be here. The second decision is it in line with what you're already doing? Am I on other shows? Am I out there promoting myself? Yes, I am. boom, boom, 2 yeses, and let's go. Those are the only 2 questions you need to ask yourself.
So you don't, once you narrow down what your focus is, you find that passion, you got that discipline going, you don't have to think about it, because if my show was not in line with your goals, you'd say, you know, fabulous, wonderful show, I'm sure, but not for me, and maybe just refer me to someone else who you know that might be a good fit.
Absolutely. If you called me and said, hi, my show is on engineering, would you like to be a guest? I would be like, what do you want me to talk about?
Yeah, you know, and not only that, you'd be insulted because the person doesn't know who you are.
Well, that's true, and that's the one thing that when people are out there promoting themselves, I do a lot of media training, so I tell people, when you're promoting yourself, check out the show that you're promoting yourself to.
Right,
Don't just call any producer. Number one, producers are super busy. Don't just call anybody and say, hi, can I get on this show? If you're not a good match, then don't be on that show. For my show is for entrepreneurs and authors who are talking to entrepreneurs. We don't do relationships. We don't do children's stuff. So when you're calling me and saying, hi, I want to promote my new baby book,
right,
this is the wrong audience.
Right, unless it's about baby entrepreneurs.
Exactly, unless it's about baby entrepreneurs, exactly.
So you say, and I'm sure that book is either coming out or it's already out there. So you say, Dr. Wright, beware of sort of the I'm thinking about it syndrome.
Right. People are thinking about it, and you come back a year later and they're still thinking about it. You need to be able to think about it, make the decision, and move on. If it's no, move on. If it's yes, move on. But, you talk to people and they go, okay, well, let me think about it. And you come back a week later and they're still thinking about it. It's like, what the heck are you thinking about? They're not thinking about it. What they did is they didn't want to say no, and they wanted to put you off, and they were hoping you wouldn't come back. So man up, woman up, cowboy up, cowgirl up, and say no when you want to say no, and say yes when you want to say yes.
Right. So you just can't get paralyzed by the fact that a decision has to be made. And one of the things your book talks about too, before we move on to the 5th thing, is that that's really something you just have to kind of close your eyes and just start doing it. It's not something that if you're already uncomfortable with it, you're not suddenly going to become uncomfortable. You just have to do it, right?
Exactly. You just have to train yourself to do it. And it's always going to be hard to say no to people that you really love and care for and who really may not understand why you say no, even though you explain it to them.
Right. So we've gone through 4. Now this one is one of my favorites. Your 5th tip is to check out who you're hanging out with. Tell us about that.
I know. Your tribe is so, so important. And when we were teenagers and our parents said, you need to watch who you're hanging out with, we're like, pooh, you don't know my friends. My friends are great. Well, extrapolate now. I'm a long way from high school. Extrapolate now what some of those friends are doing, and thank God I'm not hanging out with them. I mean, I would not be where I am. The people around you are going to help you get into a comfort zone. And so I tend to hang around people that are very advanced. I hang around a lot of Internet marketers, although I'm technically not an Internet marketer myself. So I know a lot about Internet marketing. I know people who've made millions on Internet marketing, but that's who I'm trying to be around. I'm trying to be around the best in the industry. And so your tribe is so incredibly important. Now, am I telling people to kick their old friends to the curb? No, that's not what I'm saying. But there's a natural development of people falling away. And instead of trying to hold on to people who are just naturally falling away from your circle, let them go so you can let in someone who's just as determined as you, just as disciplined as you, just as interested as you are in making some things work.
So you say, now this is interesting, don't kick your old friends to the curb. So is it a matter of the ones that you can't kick to the curb, or maybe even, God forbid, some family members, you can't, quote-unquote, do that, but do you suggest that people make a sort of a mental note and start to be able to compartmentalize their presence in their lives?
Well, I think so. I mean, if it's your husband or your wife who's just like right there in your face every day, that's a little bit hard. I mean, you can't just kick your husband or your wife to the curb. You can't just kick your mom or dad to the curb. However, you may not want to discuss your business and your new venture with people who are telling you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. You want to discuss your new venture, your new passion with people who are encouraging, giving you ideas, and helping you move forward. When it comes to friends, they will naturally fall away. Because after a while, as your success grows, as you're getting momentum in your direction, there are people that I used to hang with really tight 5 or 6 years ago, and we don't even talk anymore now. Mm-hmm. Not because I kicked them to the curb, because, oh, Dr. Wright is so cool now. She's doing red carpets and she's doing all this stuff. It's not because of that. It's just a natural falling away. I don't have to call them and say, you don't support me, I hate you, don't ever call me again. I don't have to do that. I can just spend time with people who are really loving, sharing, mentoring, pushing me. You know, some of my friends, call me up and, what the heck are you doing? They push me because they know where I want to go, and they know what I can do, and they know when I'm being lazy. And so when you hang around those people, there will be a natural falling away. Now, when I told my family I wanted to do TV, I didn't get a roaring, yay, do TV.
Right.
They were very quiet, but they know me. They know that I reach the goals that I'm going to reach. So they did not discourage me, but they were real quiet about it. Mm-hmm. Now, 7, 8 years later, we do the Mother's Day show. This year it was called the High Tea, which people can watch online at rightplacetv.com if they want to. They can just click on High Tea. We gave away, each person at that show got about a $500 gift bag. Mm-hmm. Okay? And my mother came to that show. You think my mother's glad I got a TV show now? Right. She got all the cool stuff. She's happy.
You got some cred now. You got some cred.
Exactly. So when you're first doing it, don't look for support. Be what you need to be inside of you, and don't worry about who is or is not supporting you. That's an excuse.
I have heard it said, or maybe I've read this somewhere, that if you want to get to know somebody, find out information about 5 or 10 of their closest associates. Huh? So is that sort of part and parcel to what you're saying when you choose your mentor, not only someone that's got the specialized knowledge in doing what you do, but also who are they associated with?
Exactly. Who are they associated with? What's going on? Who are the people around them? See, a lot of these football players get in trouble in the off season because of who they're hanging around with. See, as long as the football game's going on, they're hanging around other players, life is beautiful. But when everybody is on break, they're in clubs, they're doing this, they're doing that. Well, who are you hanging with? And you do need to look at the circle around you. You do need to really evaluate that and understand. I say don't spend major time with minor people.
Oh, that's a good quote. Don't spend major time with minor people. That's a really good one. Now that's something that just breaks it down right there. You don't have to deal with who it is or what they're saying. It's just, major or minor, and where do they fit in.
Exactly.
That makes it easy. So if you can do that, maybe that's your first exercise at becoming a good decision maker. Because if you can separate out those kinds of people in your life and make decisions based on that, then your business is going to be a breeze.
Exactly. Your business is going to be a breeze because it is very hard to say no to your friends. But, it's not really that way. It's not that you're going to sit there and kick all your friends to the curb. What happens is you're doing your thing. You're naturally attracting people who are helpful and supportive to you, and naturally the people who are not are just falling away.
Right. And I'm looking at, of course, as we're having this show today and you're offering such great information to listeners, I'm watching the tweets come in, and one just came in that said, "You're right, kick them to the curb. I don't want dead weight around." So that really is, it's key, isn't it? I mean, and you can do all these other things in your list, but if you can't do that, I mean, what do you have?
Well, like I said, if it's a spouse or someone very, very close to you, children, parents, sometimes just making the success will shut people up. Mm-hmm. When you get to your successful points, their minds will change. Some people close to us are afraid that the failure is going to crumble us or hurt us. And it's not that they don't want to help you succeed or see you succeed. It's just that they don't want to see you hurt. And they don't know another way to express it except, like, maybe you shouldn't do that.
And that's a really good point, too. So everybody that looks at you like you're cross-eyed when you say you're going to start a TV show is not being a hater or right. Just being negative. Sometimes people really do. So you really do have to kind of go behind that and investigate what it is that's really resulting in that reaction.
Exactly. Before you make a snap judgment and tell your spouse or your loved one, you never support me, before you go there, really, really think about it. Because I'm going to tell you, when I told people I was doing a TV show, there are people today that I'm telling you physically laughed in my face. I mean, I didn't go behind my back. I mean, I'm standing there face to face with them, and they laughed. Okay?
Right.
So, who's got the last laugh now? I'm still on TV. I'm still doing my thing. I'm still having a fabulous time. We just started the new season. I just finished an interview with Marshall Silver. I had Dave Lacani on the show. I had Mark Victor Hansen on the show. I've got Stephen Pierce coming up in October. I mean, Right Places Rocket Diamonds this year. So I'm like, forget about those people that laughed. I knew what the vision could be. And now I have people like you I can talk to. I have a lot of people in the industry who are supportive and loving and have experience and have good advice, and I have plenty of people to talk to.
And one of the things your book addresses too, Dr. Wright, is the issue of debt. Now, we're talking about all these things that you can do to experience your passion, move your life in the direction that you want it to go from a business perspective. What is your perspective on the issue of debt? I know this is addressed in your book to some extent. Share with our readers, our listeners, what you think about that.
Well, absolutely. This is, and I will just share exactly what's in my book. When it comes to debt in your business debt is completely different from consumer debt. I'm going to repeat that. One of my mentors really taught me what it's about. And I'll tell you, her name is Donna Fox. She wrote a book called From Credit Repair to Credit Millionaire. And she probably has about $10 million in business credit right now. When she wrote the book, she had $5 million in business credit. And she knows and completely understands what business credit is about. So I am not telling anybody to go run up their personal credit cards, buy crap they don't need, don't want, trying to be fashionable, trying to live outside their means, and then default on their credit cards. That is not what I'm saying. But I am saying that in business, there are business debts that you do have to incur. And people who are successful understand that it's okay to go into debt when you are using that debt to make more money than the debt cost you. Okay, here's an example. If I came up to you and I said, Donna, I'm going to give you a $20 bill. I'm going to sell you, and it's a real $20 bill. This isn't a fake. This isn't a trick. I'm going to sell you a $20 bill for $10. Would you buy it? Would you take it? Mm-hmm. I give you $20. You're going to give me $10.
Yes.
Okay. You would take it because why?
Because I can get more than I spent.
Right. You just made $10.
Right.
Now, if I came up and said, hey, I've got this $20 bill for you. I'm going to give it to you for $10. And you just came from the gym, so you don't have your purse on you, so you didn't have any money on you. Would you go borrow it from somebody at home, your husband or neighbor or somebody real quick, come back and get that $20 bill from me for $10?
Right, yes.
Okay, and you would do that because you could go home with $10, and even if that person charged you 100% interest, in other words, they said, I want my they didn't charge you interest, they just wanted their $10 back. You still wound up with $10. So here it is, you borrowed $10, you didn't have any money. You get the $20 bill from me, you pay them back the $10, and you have $10 in your pocket. You just made money when you didn't even have any money, right?
Right.
That is what the wealthy do. You went into debt $10 so you could make some money. And that's what I'm telling people they have to think about doing. That is how the wealthy do it. On a much, much bigger scale than that, but that's how it works.
That's a really good way to kind of break it down. And it also brings us back to your point about discipline, because if I don't pay you back that $10 and I do that 20, 50, or 100 times, then I'm in a lot of trouble.
You're in a lot of trouble, and a lot of people are looking for you.
Yeah. Well, this has just been so fantastic. Your 5 tips for creating the kind of wealth as you define it that you want in your life, specifically through entrepreneurship. Those were just great. I really appreciate your time on the show today. Dr. Wright, would you give us some more information about how we can catch up with you? Where can we catch your show, and where are you going to be speaking?
Absolutely. You can go to www.Wright, like my name, WRIGHT, place, TV, chiropractic.com. And on that site, we have the events page, which shows where I'm speaking. I'm going to be at the Bridging Hearts and Marketing event on Sunday. I'm going to also be speaking for NABO, and all the other things are there. You can also see where in the Los Angeles region that you can watch the show. However, if you're outside of the region, all the shows from 2008 are posted online. The latest one that's up there is called Shine the Light. Click on that, and you don't have to download anything. It'll just play for you. You can watch the shows anytime you want to on demand. And we have new shows almost every week. We just started the new season, so we have some really fantastic, high-level entrepreneurs. And I really go into depth. I don't use the questions that people send to me. I really dig in there and get some good stuff. So you can see Dave Lacani and I talking about how I thought he was a skinhead and what he had to say about that. You can watch Marshall Silver talk about why he stopped drinking. And you can hear Mark Victor Hansen talking about why this is a great time to be an entrepreneur. So join me at rightplacetv.com. Also, if you sign up on our email list, we do give away gifts and great TV swag every week, so you can grab some free stuff.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Wright, rightplacetv.com. Well, you guys, I am off to Washington, D.C. tonight for an interview with the local CBS affiliate there on, guess what, FDA globalization. Then off to an interview with one of my favorite journalists in the world, Michelle Martin, host of National Public Radio's Tell Me More. But thanks to technology, I'm not missing a beat. Still processing those Indie member applications, working on the newsletter. I want you to check out the blog at indiebusinessblog.com for an interesting conversation about my September 6th posts on why I, quote, support, unquote, Sarah Palin. I invite you to be a part of that robust discussion. I'll be back next week with Chicago-based talk show host Monique Carradine, author of Successful Media Relations Strategies. And then on September 22nd, Richard St. John, author of 8 to Be Great, will join me right here on Indie Business Radio. In the meantime, I will be looking for you to be enjoying your life, building your business, and having your way. This is Indie Business Radio signing off. Have a great week, guys.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.